We are nearing the end of 2019, which means we should take a look back into the cosmos at all the terrible movies that hit our big screens this year. We covered the worst of the worst in part 1, from Gemini Man to Dark Phoenix to, of course, the worst film I've ever seen in my whole entire life, The Fanatic, starring John Travolta. Someone paid for that movie. Anyway, that being said, we're going to be counting down our list of the top 10 worst movies of 2019 so far. Part 2, let's jump in. Coming in at 10, Men in Black International. Directed by F. Gary Gray, Men in Black International tells the story of course, the Men in Black, an organization who have always protected the Earth from the scum of the universe. In the new adventure, they tackle their biggest threat to date, a mole in the Men in Black organization. Now, I should preface this point by saying that folks were already unhappy with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones not reprising their leading roles, and instead, Chris Hemsworth and my favorite Tessa Thompson took over. Sadly, Tessa couldn't save this movie, with many critics referring to the movie as meh in black. The movie is intensely tiresome and seems more pointless than anything. It also feels insincere, and unfortunately for Tessa Thompson, she seems to have the life squeezed out of her by the terrible script and directing. The movie trudges through with you expecting it to get better. Sadly, that's not the case, and the film lacks any real spark or shine. Coming in at 9, Holmes and Watson. Directed by Ethan Coen, not to be confused with Ethan Coen, never confuse the two, Holmes and Watson is a humorous take on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's classic mystery featuring Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. The movie stars comedy giants such as Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, and Ralph Fiennes. However, this movie is absolutely abysmal, with these actors hitting career lows. The iconic Holmes and Watson are depicted as needy, middle-aged man-children in the similar vein of Step Brothers. However, this is not Step Brothers. They may be confused. The accents are of course atrocious, and the jokes even worse, with the movie feeling like a bad improv show that you just can't seem to leave. If you value your time and money, do not watch this abhorrent piece of trash which can't even do gross out humor correctly. And that's saying something. Anyone can do gross out humor. Coming in at 8, The Queen's Corgi. I honestly thought this movie was a joke when I first read about it. Sadly, I was mistaken. Instead, someone actually funded this movie, and I'm shook. Directed by Vincent Castelloute and Ben Stassen, The Queen's Corgi follows, of course, the British monarch's favourite dog, who gets lost from the palace and finds himself at a dog fight club. He then begins his long journey to find his way back home to the palace. Again, sounds like a joke, right? A fight club for dogs. Yeah, I'm still not over it. Not only does it include a fight club, but also a pole dancing Saluki and a dog that very clearly represents Donald Trump. Now, I appreciate animated movies, but this one is very clearly trying to compete with the likes of Disney and DreamWorks, yet it did not pay off, and this is why the top dogs remain on top. Don't be these people. Don't make that movie. Coming in at 7, Unicorn Store. I hate to do this, I really do, because as most of you will know, or should know, I love Brie Larson. She is a queen, and we are not worthy. However, she should not be a director, and I say that in the nicest way possible. Directed, again, by Brie Larson, the movie follows Kit, a 20-something dreamer who receives an invitation that would fulfill her childhood dreams. Starring Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, and Joan Cusack, this is yet another movie all about nepotism. We love nepotism. Considering that Brie and Samuel are friends, you can see why he was forced, willing, to make this movie. The movie is just straight up boring and bland. If a movie had a color, this would be beige. Now, the acting is good, I can say that, but the script is poor and the directing mediocre. Sorry, Brie. Wow, I shouldn't script at home, I'm mean. I'm too mean. Coming in at 6, Wonder Park. Directed by Dylan Brown, who is uncredited, wonder why? Wonder Park tells the story of an amusement park where the imagination of a wildly creative girl named June comes alive. With voice actors such as Jennifer Garner, Kenan Thompson, Mila Kunis, Ken Jeong, and John Oliver, you would expect the movie to be at least somewhat enjoyable, right? Wrong. Not even the A-list cast could save this movie. Instead, it is just another poorly made, family-oriented movie of 2019. And ironically, what makes this movie comical is the simple fact that it explores the ideas of imagination and innovation. Yet the movie lacks all of those things. Sad times. Sucks to be Wonder Park. Coming in at 5, What Men Want. Directed by Adam Shankman, aka the man behind A Walk to Remember, Cheaper by the Dozen 2, Hairspray, and of course, everyone's favourite, the Miley Cyrus music video When I Look at You. Classic. What Men Want tells the story of a woman boxed out by the male sports agents in her profession, but gains an unexpected edge over them when she develops the ability to hear their thoughts. Now, this is of course the retelling of the Mel Gibson movie What Women Want, which is the exact same storyline just with the reversal of genders. The only takeaway from this movie is that Taraji P. Henson is a goddamn queen, an incredible actress. Sadly though, she cannot save this movie, which at times is homophobic, with some of the big laughs coming when Taraji's character overhears that men are gay or doing some kind of gender non-conforming thing. Yeah, that's a big no-no. Overall, it is merely a broad, shallow mainstream comedy that at times is wildly offensive. Don't watch it. Coming in at number 4, Brightburn. Directed by David Yarovetsky, Brightburn poses the question, what if a child from another world crash-landed on Earth, but instead of becoming hero to mankind, he proved to be something far more sinister? Now, the concept itself was incredibly unique, and was in essence, what if Superman was evil? Fascinating, right? Well, sadly, it did not pay off, with the execution lacking all suspense and surprise. Not only that, but it seemed like a cop-out considering the writers of the movie were the cousin and brother of producer James Gunn. Nepotism, again, at its finest. To make matters worse, the end of the movie suggests there may be a sequel coming, but I think it's safe to say we all collectively have our fingers crossed that that won't be happening. I would literally rather the happening to happen again, and that's saying something.
What? No.
Coming in at 3, The Silence. It hurts my soul that Stanley Tucci was in this movie because he is genuinely a very good actor, save for a few poor films. I mean, I love Burlesque, but I know it's not the best. But he starred alongside Cher, and as you all know, Cher is my queen right now and she's the best thing. The Silence, directed by John R. Leonetti, centers on the world under attack by terrifying creatures who hunt their prey by sound, forcing Allie, a deaf teenage girl, and the rest of her family to seek refuge in a remote haven. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Dollar Store, A Quiet Place? Maybe. The Silence is by far the worst horror movie of the year, if not the decade, and that's surprising considering its cast. Stanley Tucci, Kiernan Shipka, and Miranda Otto. Not only is it not scary, it also had absolutely no suspense and no character development. It is a waste of time and money. Do not watch this movie. Coming in at 2, HOLMES. Yet another movie on our list that I was confident was a joke, but was sadly mistaken when I realized someone paid for this movie. Sucks to be them. Directed by Zara Hayes, the movie stars Diane Keaton, Jackie Weaver, and that's about it, and follows a group of women who form a cheerleading squad at their retirement home in order to prove that you're never too old to bring it. Yeah, I feel sick just saying all of those words. As you would expect, considering this is our number 2 point, the writing was atrocious, with stale jokes and an uncomfortable blend of silliness and sickness. It stars a few A-list actors, yes, but it fails them tragically by making them humiliate themselves by performing cringy cheer routines. Not just that, but the women are then forced to perform at a high school pep rally. It's quite honestly a joke and more painful to watch than it is enjoyable. Don't ever subject your loved ones to this movie. You have been warned. And finally coming in at number 1, The Dirt. Directed by Jeff Tremaine and starring Douglas Booth and Machine Gun Kelly, The Dirt is based on the best-selling autobiography from Motley Crue, with the film being an unflinching tale of success and excess as 4 misfits rise from the streets of Hollywood to the heights of international fame. Sadly, this film, like the rest of our numbers on our list, missed the mark. It is, to put it bluntly, vile and pure garbage. It seemed to be hoping to play off the success of films like Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man, but sadly this movie just felt misplaced, with casting choices that made zero sense. Not only that, but it was cheap, with poorly written dialogue. Make it feel like an old man trying to be hip with the youths. It does of course favour the scenes of sex and drugs, and surprisingly has very little concert scenes for a movie about a band. Honestly, don't watch this movie. It's not worth wasting 1 hour and 47 minutes of your time. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any terrible movies of 2019 that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. If you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another Beyond the Screen vid. Until next time, see you later.